They told you a lie. They told you that wealth belongs only to those who sweat, those who hustle, those who sacrifice their peace in exchange for the dream of riches. They told you that the lottery, the ultimate symbol of sudden fortune, is won only by luck, by chance, by numbers that care nothing for you. But listen closely. That is the myth. The truth is far stranger and far more intimate. Neville Goddard whispers across the veil of time, "You do not act your way into abundance. You listen your way into it. No action is required, only the stillness of hearing." You see, wealth is not outside you, dangling like a fruit beyond reach. Wealth is already woven into the fabric of your inner world. The lottery is not won in the marketplace. It is won in the imagination. And the key is this: listening. For centuries, mankind has worshipped the altar of effort. We believed, work harder and you will climb higher. Struggle longer and you will grasp the prize. Move faster and you will outrun your poverty. But what if this entire creed is a shadow, projected onto the cave wall of our collective mind? What if the real treasure requires no struggle at all? What if all you must do is become still and hear? You resist this, don't you? The ego clenches, the rational voice snarls. Impossible. Wealth requires work. Nothing comes for free. But the deeper voice, the archetypal oracle within, answers differently. It whispers, riches flow where attention rests. Fortune answers to the ear that listens. This is the radical myth Neville Goddard shatters. You don't win the lottery by chance. You win the lottery by listening. Carl Jung would have said, "We are ruled not by conscious choice, but by archetypes stirring in the deep. The worker, the beggar, the dreamer, the magician." Most of us are trapped in the worker, endlessly pushing the stone up the hill, Sisyphus reborn every dawn. But the dreamer archetype knows another path. The dreamer closes his eyes. He listens, and in listening, he enters the hidden temple of imagination, where reality is written before it appears. Neville knew this temple well. He walked its corridors, and he returned with a message. What you accept as true in imagination will harden into fact. Listening is the doorway. Imagine this. You are standing outside a grand palace. Gold walls shimmer in the moonlight. Through the gates, you hear laughter, music, the sound of goblets raised in celebration. You long to enter, but you think, "I am unworthy, I am poor, I must labor before I deserve such feasts." But then, a voice stirs within, soft, clear. It says, "Be still. Do not run. Do not fight." Listen, you press your ear to the gate, and suddenly you realize the celebration is already yours. The gate is not locked. You were always invited. The sound becomes vision. The vision becomes fact, and you step inside. Neville's teaching is a threshold. It is the serpent coiled at the doorway of the temple, frightening, unbelievable, but also sacred. To cross it is to let go of the myth of effort. To cross it is to embrace the alchemy of listening. So I ask you, what if all your striving has been unnecessary? What if the very numbers of the lottery, the sequence of fortune itself, are already whispering in your imagination, waiting for you to stop, to listen, to allow? This is the heresy against the cult of work. This is the dangerous gospel Neville preached. And it is here, in the quiet act of listening, that Act 1 ends, and the descent into mystery begins. Because the question is no longer, Can it be true? The question becomes, dare you believe it? Dare you listen? You have heard the whisper, win the lottery by listening. But the mind resists. The worker within you scoffs, nonsense. Without action, nothing moves. This is the ancient battle. Two worlds clash within you. The outer world, ruled by cause and effect, sweat and currency, logic and probability. The inner world, ruled by imagination, archetype, and the unseen law that Neville calls the law of assumption. The outer world demands effort. The inner world demands listening, and you stand at the crossroads. You see, this is not merely about money. It is initiation. It is the threshold between ego and soul, between exile and inheritance. Neville Goddard's words strike like lightning across the night. Be still and know that you are God. Assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Persist in it, and it will harden into fact. What does this mean? It means the lottery ticket is not won by numbers on paper, but by numbers already etched into the imagination. You do not force the world. You allow the world to echo your inner conviction. And how do you allow? By listening. Listening is the womb of creation. Listening is the Grail into which divine wine is poured. Listening is the feminine archetype, the receptive, the vessel, the oracle, without which no seed can grow. Inside you, 4 archetypes gather. 1. The Cynic, shadow of the worker. He laughs bitterly and says, "This is fantasy. Show me results, or I will not believe." 2. The Beggar, shadow of the dreamer. He whines and says, I hope, but fortune is cruel." 3. The Oracle, the inner feminine. She whispers and says, "Be still. Hear the truth. It is already yours." 4. The Magician, the Alchemist. He says, "Listen long enough, and you will transmute doubt into certainty, shadow into gold." Jung would say, these are not just characters. They are forces within the collective psyche. When you deny them, they rule you from the shadows. When you face them, they become guides. Neville teaches the same, though with different words. He tells you, your imagination is God. Your inner listening is prayer. Your assumption is destiny. Picture this. You dream you are at a marketplace. People shout, sell, and fight for bread. Coins clatter on stone tables. The air is thick with desperation. You clutch your last coin, trembling. You want to buy a lottery ticket. Maybe this time you will win. But as you stretch out your hand, the coin melts away. And a voice says, "You cannot buy what you already own." Confused, you wander out of the marketplace into silence. There in the forest, you hear it. A low hum, like the earth itself is singing. The hum shapes into numbers, into symbols, into the very sequence of fortune. And you realize, it is not outside you, it is in you. The ticket was never paper. The ticket was always listening. Now, let us pause. The rational mind rebels again. If listening alone were enough, everyone would be rich. If imagination created reality, why do millions still suffer? Good question. Neville would answer, because most people listen to fear. They listen to the voice of lack, of doubt, of despair. They water the weeds, not the seeds. Imagination does not discriminate. It produces whatever is planted. The problem is not that listening fails. The problem is that you are always listening, but usually to the wrong voice. So the teaching becomes, shift your listening. Turn away from the noise of probability and tune into the certainty of fulfillment. This is the confrontation. The cynic shouts. The beggar trembles. But you must go down into the underworld of your own doubt. There, in the dark cavern, you find a mirror. In the mirror, you see yourself, weary, hopeless, clutching scraps of effort. But look deeper. Behind the reflection, another self appears, calm, radiant, already victorious. That self whispers, stop striving, begin hearing. I am the you who already won. The underworld is terrifying, but it is here that transformation happens. Just as Persephone ate the seed in Hades' realm, you too must ingest the seed of belief in the Shadowlands. The lottery is not only money, it is the archetype of sudden grace. It is manna falling from heaven, the gift unearned, the miracle without effort. This is why people are obsessed with it, because deep down, they know grace is real. They feel the call of abundance without toil. Neville radicalizes this. The lottery is not chance. It is certainty in imagination. The ticket is not purchased. It is received by listening. So the lottery is the symbol of inner inheritance. To win it is not just to gain wealth, but to remember who you are. A creator, not a beggar. Let me tell you a story. A man buys tickets every week. He works in a factory, his hands calloused, his back bent. Each Saturday night, he prays half-heartedly, then waits. And each Sunday morning, disappointment breaks him anew. One night, exhausted, he falls into a dream. In the dream, he hears a voice. Stop buying. Start hearing. He resists, laughs, ignores, but the dream repeats again and again. At last, he listens. He closes his eyes, imagines the newspaper, sees the numbers, feels the surge of victory. He repeats this each night, not with strain, but with quiet joy. Weeks later, he does not even notice when his ticket wins. He is calm, unsurprised, because he had already heard it. He had already lived it. This is Neville's mystery. The outer win is only the shadow of the inner win. Listening is not passive, it is alchemical. When you listen, you gather the raw ore of imagination and heat it with attention. The lead of doubt melts, the gold of certainty shines. Neville would say, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. This assumption is not noisy, not frantic. It is silent hearing. It is resting in the truth already spoken within you. This is why no action is needed, because listening is the action. Listening is the seed that becomes the tree, the invisible act that creates the visible outcome. Let me repeat, for the psyche learns by rhythm. You do not win the lottery by chance. You win it by listening. No outer action is needed. The inner ear is the only tool. The numbers are already whispered in imagination. You need only tune in. Say it again. You do not act your way into abundance. You listen your way into it. So here we are, at the heart of the confrontation. The worker still clings to his tools. The beggar still pleads for scraps. But the oracle beckons. Lay down your burden. Open your ear, the feast is already served. And the magician, smiling, holds out a mirror. In it, you see yourself. Not as you think you are, but as you truly are. Already wealthy, already chosen, already in possession of the lottery of life. You only need to hear it. You have descended into the underworld of doubt. You have wrestled with the Cynic, trembled with the Beggar, heard the oracle, and glimpsed the magician. And now, as the dust settles, a hush falls. In that hush, you realize the battle was never outside. The lottery was never a ticket, never a number, never a ball spinning in a cage of chance. The lottery was always your ability to listen. You see, the act of listening is not weakness. It is power, concealed in stillness. It is the vessel that receives. The world taught you to grab, to fight, to hustle. But Neville taught you the deeper law. To listen is to create. In this moment, the Beggar lays down his empty bowl. The Cynic softens, his laughter fading into silence. The oracle steps forward, her hands cupped around a flame. The magician smiles, placing the flame in your chest. You become the Grail. You become the vessel. You become the one who listens, and therefore, the one who creates. Jung would call this integration, the union of opposites, the alchemy of wholeness. Neville would call it faith, the assumption that becomes fact. Different words, same truth. The moment you hear it within, the world has no choice but to echo it without. Imagine, you wake one morning. The sun is soft on your skin. You reach for the newspaper, the phone, the screen, and there it is. The numbers, the fortune, the impossible now made real. But you are calm. You are not shocked, because you had already heard it. This is not surprise. This is recognition. The outer world is simply catching up to what the inner world already knew. Let me remind you once more. You do not win the lottery by striving. You win it by listening. No action is needed. Only stillness, only hearing, only the quiet conviction that it is already yours. Listening is the womb. Listening is the Grail. Listening is creation. Say it again. No action, only listening. No action, only listening. No action, only listening. So I invite you now, not as student, but as initiate. Sit in silence tonight. Close your eyes. Do not beg, do not force, do not reach. Listen. Listen as though the numbers are already whispered. Listen as though the fortune is already deposited into your account. Listen as though the banquet is already prepared in your honor. And then, walk in that knowing. Carry it as a seed. Let it harden into fact. If these words stirred something in you, if you feel the whisper of Neville's teaching within your own soul, then I ask you to take 2 simple steps. Practice the listening tonight. Close your eyes, hear the fulfillment. Let it be done in imagination. Do this, and you will see the shift. Share this message. There are many still trapped in the myth of struggle. Let them know there is another way. Let them hear the radical truth. No action is needed, only listening. And if you wish to continue this path, to dive deeper into Neville's mysteries, into Jung's archetypes, into the alchemy of imagination, then stay with me. Subscribe, follow, return. This channel is the temple where we listen together.